Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the recently declassified UFO files to uncover a really fascinating truth hiding behind decades of alien hysteria. We're going to look at the evidence and explore how the captivating narrative of extraterrestrial visitors has actually been used as a brilliant, decades-long smokescreen for secret military operations and advanced surveillance testing.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that sounds, honestly, like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster but is actually grounded in highly classified real-world reports. It's a question that comes from a very specific pattern of sightings. These events don't just happen randomly out in the middle of nowhere. They seem to heavily involve the exact organizations tasked with our national defense.
Picture this. It's 2023. Over the course of 2 days, 3 different teams made up of 6 highly trained federal agents gave sworn statements about witnessing something completely unexplainable. They reported seeing this massive, glowing orange orb just hovering in the sky, and it didn't just sit there. The agents described it acting almost like a mothership, literally launching smaller red orbs that moved forward, up, and down in this incredibly coordinated display before just vanishing in seconds. Now, this wasn't some internet rumor. These were sworn testimonies from federal officers.
Now, to wrap our heads around stuff like this, we need to look at the hard data. 162. That is the staggering number of newly declassified UFO files published just recently on May 8, 2026 at war.gov/UFO. This massive data dump brings to light previously unseen FBI documents, Pentagon reports, NASA transcripts, and some genuinely astonishing videos. Out of thousands of historical reports, these 162 files contain 28 videos and 14 images of encounters that totally stumped the government.
But here's where it gets really wild. The impossible physics recorded by military infrared sensors. We're talking about maneuvers that defy everything we know about conventional inertia. In Greece, in 2023, the U.S. military captured nearly 3 minutes of infrared video showing an object taking a 90-degree turn over the ocean at 80 miles per hour. That maneuver would literally shred any known human aircraft. Fast forward to 2025. A senior intelligence official in a helicopter chases one of these orbs, only for it to instantly jump 20 miles away to evade them. And in Iraq and Syria in 2024, surveillance systems caught objects zipping past at supersonic speeds, and these semi-transparent orange anomalies that would flash for just 2 seconds before vanishing entirely.
Section 1, Encounters Above the Earth. Because, these phenomena aren't just happening down here in our skies. Let's see how this builds into the vacuum of space.
If we look at the historical timeline, highly trained astronauts have been reporting unexplained physical objects and flashes for decades now. It builds a really compelling case. Back in 1965, astronaut Frank Borman on Gemini 7 reported a bogey, which is military speak for an unidentified aircraft actually pacing his capsule. During the Apollo 11 mission in 1969, Buzz Aldrin reported strange flashing lights in the cabin and laser-like reflections. And maybe most stunningly, a 1972 photograph from Apollo 17 clearly shows 3 unidentified physical dots hovering in a perfect triangular formation above the lunar surface.
Section 2, the military hotspot pattern. This is where things get really interesting. If we shift our perspective from what these objects are to where they're showing up, a very distinct earthly pattern emerges.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that across the last 79 years, these unexplainable events consistently cluster exactly where the U.S. military has deployed its most advanced monitoring systems. During the Cold War, sightings spiked in New Mexico and Germany. Today, they're happening in the Indo-Pacific near Japan and in the Middle East around Iraq, Syria, and the Strait of Hormuz. We are seeing these anomalies specifically in zones of highly elevated military presence.
Which forces us to ask kind of an inconvenient question, right? Why on earth would a hyper-advanced extraterrestrial species exclusively fly around human military bases? It's a bit like asking why aliens in the movies only ever seem to attack New York City. The geographical bias is a massive clue that we might not be looking at visitors from another galaxy, but rather something far, far closer to home.
Section 3, Hiding in Plain Sight. Let's look at how the whole cultural phenomenon of flying saucers was masterfully utilized as a smokescreen.
The reality of these events paints a drastically different picture of what the government was actually up to. It all kicked off back in 1947 when pilot Kenneth Arnold reported objects moving like saucers skipping across water, and shortly after, debris was found in Roswell, New Mexico.
While the entire public was swept up in this global hysteria about alien bodies and flying discs, the military was quietly sweeping up debris from classified spy tech. And those so-called alien bodies, the Air Force later revealed they were literally just test dummies used in high-altitude drops.
Actually, that famous Roswell debris was from something called Project Mogul. The US government quickly realized that letting the public believe in aliens was the perfect cover story to prevent an international crisis. I mean, think about it. If the Soviet Union knew the US was flying advanced acoustic spy balloons to secretly monitor their nuclear tests, it could have triggered a massive conflict. So the UFO narrative? It provided the ultimate plausible deniability.
And the military went to extreme lengths to study and manage this narrative. Look at the government's own Project Blue Book, which ran from 1952 to 1969. They investigated 12,000 cases and found that the vast majority were completely mundane objects, things like weather balloons, aircraft, or even just planets. But it was those 701 identified cases that kept the public's imagination running wild, creating this persistent fog of mystery that worked perfectly in the government's favor.
There's a quote from our source material that really hits the nail on the head. The Pentagon actively allowed UFO theories to persist because it gave them a brilliant disguise for testing advanced stealth aircraft. As the CIA and military were out there developing next-generation aerospace technology during the Cold War, they were absolutely thrilled that citizens spotting these weird futuristic shapes were blaming Martians, instead of realizing they were looking at highly classified American black projects.
Section 4. Enemy drones and surveillance. Fast forward to today, and this convenient cover story is masking a modern, far more grounded threat hiding in our skies.
Remember those glowing orange and red orbs we talked about from the beginning of this explainer? Well, defense analysts point out that real-world adversary tech perfectly matches those descriptions. China has actually developed a mothership drone capable of deploying hundreds of smaller micro-drones, which sounds exactly like what those federal agents witnessed in 2023. In hotspots like Iraq and Syria, forces are routinely dealing with Iranian and Houthi surveillance tech. And of course, let's not forget the high-altitude Chinese spy balloons, like the massive one publicly shot down over the US in 2023. These aren't aliens, folks. This is foreign espionage.
The loop has finally closed. The government itself has officially admitted that the historical UFO craze was largely driven by citizens spotting our own classified aircraft. A 2024 Pentagon report flat out confirms that a huge chunk of those historical mysteries were just everyday Americans catching a lucky glimpse of their own government's cutting-edge space and spy plane technology. And to back that up, the Defense Department's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, recently finished this exhaustive review covering every single claim from 1945 to 2023. Their final verdict? Zero proof of anything extraterrestrial. No secret crash ships, no reverse-engineered alien warp drives. Most modern UFOs, according to AARO, are simply drones, balloons, rockets, or satellites that observers just misidentified.
Section 5. Distractions in final verdict. So, if the military knows these aren't aliens, and they know many of them are actually foreign drones or our own secret tech, why release 162 new UFO files without any context today?
Well, the source material notes a pretty fascinating and honestly sobering theory. Sudden drops of mysterious, uncontextualized UFO files create an immediate media frenzy. The documents suggest that administrations, and the source cites the Trump administration as one example here, might use these mysterious releases as deliberate political distractions. It's a way to bury unfavorable news cycles or even horrific criminal abuses like those detailed in the Epstein files, which obviously we unequivocally condemn, because mystery thrives where transparency is absent. What better way to control the news cycle than by dangling the promise of aliens? Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to take away from this explainer. When the government points up at the stars, we should probably be asking what they're trying to hide right down here on the ground. Whether it's to cloak top-secret surveillance tests, mask foreign espionage drones breaching our airspace, or just to bury a bad news cycle, the alien narrative has proven to be the ultimate sleight of hand. So the next time a mysterious UFO video hits the news, remember to ask yourself, what real-world operation is hiding behind the flying saucer?